And then they start to eat the softer foods, the Gerber stuff. Then you mash up the vegetables and the potatoes. And you take the hamburger and you make sure it's all mashed up good. And they start to discover what? Hey, losing that bottle wasn't so bad. And then they start to discover all these different tastes and this wide world of wonderful things to eat. And all the possibilities of what it means to grow up and discover all of that. This past week, I had went into a mode of depression. I mean, I just got depressed for a good half hour when I was listening to the radio, and they made the announcement that the company that makes Hostess Twinkies is going bankrupt. What's up with that? We grow up physically, don't we? We grow up psychologically. The little child that loves mom and just, you ever had one of those, any of your kids ever just follow you around everywhere you went? Or maybe they're playing in their room, and we had one of our kids be playing in their room, and all of a sudden come running out of the room, look at us in the living room, go, and then go back to the room. They had to know where we were. They had to know that. Yeah. But then what happens when they hit junior high? How cool is it to be around mom? How cool is it to be around dad? How hard is it for a 13, 14-year-old boy? How hard is it for that boy to give up mom when he falls in love for the first time? It's not that hard. To be in love at 13 or 14 is a wondrous and painful thing. But there's a process of growing up, of leaving the milk and going to the meat. Growing up, where you're maturing psychologically, physically. You're on a journey of life, and it's headed somewhere, isn't it? And some of us are getting pretty close to the end of where it's headed. We're all going somewhere. But what's tragic is that as we grow physically, psychologically, relationally, as we grow up and head off to college and learn how to do new things and start a career and progress that way, as we mature in all those ways, far too often we don't pay any attention to our spiritual growth. Almost none. As a matter of fact, I've told you before, there's been a study done that says that most Christians have no more than a third-grade education when it comes to understanding their faith or their denomination or what the Bible has to say or how to understand the stories in it. Now, some pastors would say, shame on you. This pastor says, shame on me. Shame on us. Shame on the church for not doing its job. I can remember when I was a kid, I loved those stories in the Old Testament. I loved them. And I still do, don't get me wrong. But I can remember, like you saw on the video, one time, everybody in my Sunday school class talking about creation, and the kid next to me says, what about the dinosaurs? Now the minister up there said, honey, I don't know. The Sunday school teacher went into a long dissertation connecting time and space and the animals and the ark and taking us all through different directions to try to prove that the Bible, just as you read these stories, that's the only level at which you're supposed to understand them. And then I started developing questions about these stories. What do we do when the literalness of a biblical story challenges our mind? Does it mean the story's wrong? No. Does it mean we can't trust the Bible? No. It means that as we grow, as we mature, we're supposed to be growing spiritually as well. We tell these stories to young people in a way that they can understand them. And then as they grow, we need to show them how these stories relate to them when they're teenagers, when they're adults. We lose track of our connectedness to what the Bible is saying to us if we're going to stay at a third grade level of understanding. So what do? Instead of taking the journey, spiritual journey of life, we just take the teachings of the church and stay down here. The teachings of the church are supposed to plant our feet on the paths of righteousness, to go out and grow spiritually, to become all that God would have us to become. We are all going somewhere. That's what this study's about. That's what Jesus was about. Where are you going? How are you growing? Where do you want to be? Let's pray, shall we? Lift us up, O God. Give us the courage to step forward in faith, to take the spiritual journey of life, to draw closer to you and to one another, to understand who we are in your mercy and your grace, and what you would have us to do. Bless us and feed us along the way. Help us to be all right when we don't have the answers and to live by faith. Help us not to struggle with things that get in our way, but to offer them to you. We simply want to be faithful, to journey together in life as the Christ leads us. And in his name we pray. Amen. Amen. Like the